Secure Access Service Edge, or SASE, brings together networking and cloud-delivered security services. On today's Tech Bytes podcast, we talk with sponsor Fortinet about Unified SASE. That is where a single provider offers both the networking and cloud elements of the service. We discuss essential elements of Unified SASE, Fortinet's notion of sovereign SASE, bringing GenAI into the offering, and more. Our guest is Nirav Shah, VP of Products and Solutions at Fortinet. Nirav, welcome back to the podcast. So first, what does Fortinet mean by Unified SASE? What are the components essential to a Unified SASE approach?
Yeah, thanks, Drew. Great having been here again. Fortinet's Unified SASE is really our approach to provide a single vendor solution which can enable secure access for this hybrid workforce, accessing any application securely with the zero trust principles.
Are there also components to that are essential to this approach? What are the pieces and parts that I'm looking for in a Unified SASE solution?
Yeah, look, when we look at the Unified SASE, there are two key core components. One part is the cloud-delivered security services edge, what we call FortiSASE. Mm-hmm. This is where we consolidate all of the main functionality from Secure Web Gateway, CASB, ZTNA, to DLP functionality. And we also make sure that this is well integrated with our on-prem SD-WAN solution. But Drew, what's key here is while the SASE discussion is not new, we have been discussing for last couple of years or more, it is more important that we have single unified console. And that's why I think the Unified SASE as a naming makes sense, because you want to provide a management where you can consider all of these capabilities I talked about and have a single SaaS-based management. And same for agent, right? It's not just connecting from an SD-WAN, but along with that, you want to make sure the connectivity is flexible. So we often talk about the benefits ranging from unified, flexibility, and intelligent to showcase how the secure internet access, private access, SaaS access could be done.
I think you're getting to why I would want to do this. I mean, a lot of the people listening, Nirav, would have deployed maybe multiple vendor network solutions. So they've got their core network provided by someone and their SASE may be provided by someone else. You're arguing for Unified SASE. So, and again, I think you're getting to it already, but why? What are the benefits of me doing it this way?
Yeah, I think the first thing that we hear a lot from our customers is this need for a consistent protection, consistent enforcement. So as you rightly said, it's very normal for customers to have a on-prem firewall and SD-WAN solution from one vendor and this cloud-delivered SSE solution from second vendor. But oftentimes when you have that, the security is inconsistent, right? The management has been not that streamlined. The integration has been a problem. So there is more desire to consolidate those solutions. So now, whether it's firewall, SD-WAN on-prem or SSE on the cloud, if vendor can provide a consistent management, consistent security updates, that is much easier for them. And that's where the Unified SASE kind of helps them on that journey.
You talk about tool fatigue. If I've got SASE or SSE services provided by someone different from who my core network might be, then I'm hopping from tool to tool to tool to make all this stuff happen. And what you're arguing is that, hey, if I do Unified SASE with Fortinet, then I've got a consistent interface, consistent policy, and so on across that infrastructure.
Exactly, Ethan. And is important there is it's hard to kind of build that consistency. But we go back to the FortiOS, the software which we built on firewall for last 20 plus years. And that FortiOS actually provides the full stack of SASE that we talked about. So for Fortinet, it's been always about how can we deliver the same capabilities which is available on-prem to also for SSE, right? And that's where we build this global cloud network and enable those services. So now it's flexible for customers. Where do you want to use the SASE stack? Right. And that's been very helpful to them.
So, of course, you can't have a conversation about IT today without talking about AI. Can you talk about what Fortinet's doing in regards to GenAI and incorporating it into your SASE solution?
Yeah, certainly. Look, the generative AI and the way we can help our customers to simplify NOC operations and for SOC has been top of our mind. So what we did is we introduced FortiAI. That's our GenAI assistant available as a feature as part of our NOC and SOC tools. And really the idea here is for our NOC tools, Uh, it can use or it can support 30 different languages. So customers can use voice to text for a simple questions, which can be converted into the Fortinet configuration. And we can do other things to simplify that day zero and day one configuration as well.
So you're talking about the capability to use sort of natural language queries if I want to extract some kind of information out of a dashboard or the console that I'm working from.
Exactly. So now let's say you just want to know more details about how many IoT devices we have across the network. The GenAI tool, that FortiAI feature will help you provide that data. It can further drill down and provide do they have any vulnerabilities for those IoT devices and can further go down as well. So a lot of such use cases we enabled for SD-WAN, for IoT devices, as well as for threat hunting on the SOC side as well.
So what is your Gen AI model trained on? It sounds like it has knowledge of network topology, maybe network telemetry is being used as well.
Exactly. I think what we started doing is we started training them on specific use cases. So our initial use cases, look, you wanted to build an SD-WAN topology. Rather than rewriting all the configuration, you can literally upload an image with hub and spoke, and we can enable that as a configuration, which can be drilled down to all the sites. So we have now identified the use cases and then rolled out as part of those tools.
One concern that folks have with AI is that it means a lot of data is being collected, probably put in a cloud somewhere. What are you doing to make sure that that sensitive telemetry data is protected?
I mean, the privacy is absolutely key, right? And we make sure that so the data that we are processing, we are masking them. So privacy has been always the top priority there. Also, a lot of information is being done locally. So we have a local proxy service there as well to do that. So yes, Drew, making sure the privacy is key as well as the accuracy of responses. We don't want to support everything. So we are very clear about which use cases are supported. And if you're asking anything outside of the scope, then we are very clear on those answers.
Okay, so instead of making something up, it'll just say, I don't know.
Correct.
Which is
exactly
what I would prefer, honestly.
Yes.
Now, there's a technique that's being deployed more often called retrieval augmented generation, which is a way to enhance a model that's been previously trained on a set of information to add new data to that. Are you able to incorporate RAG into your AI?
We certainly support that, Drew. Yeah. And that's where I was referring to earlier, where the documentation access, the technical documentation, which we can retrieve and make sure we provide the information accurately based on those questions is key. So we started using the RAG technology as well.
Okay, so as new updates get made to documentation, I'm assured that I'm getting the most clear and correct answers from my GenAI interface because of RAG.
Exactly.
Well, if we can't have a conversation without talking about AI, we also can't have a conversation without talking about zero trust, Nirav. So the serious question here, if we're talking about unified SASE, does that mean I have end-to-end zero trust with that sort of an architecture?
The zero trust is always about the mindset, right? I mean, you wanted to develop those core principles of zero trust, making sure the users are having an explicit access. We are doing a continuous verification. So yes, some of those capabilities like ZTNA is part of Unified SASE. And in fact, it's very popular because some of the earlier use cases that customers are adopting is about secure private access using those zero trust mindset, where we are verifying the identity, users, device posture. But one thing, Ethan, that comes up a lot is how soon we are doing that continuous verification. And we try to do near real time. So almost 45 to 60 seconds, we check the device posture. And if it is not right, then the access will not be granted to users for those applications.
So I just want to dig in on that then. If I've already established a connection, I'm working in an application, and then something on my endpoint changes, you can, within, say, a 60-second window, be like, oh, it looks like a phishing attack just took place, and we're going to now knock you off the network. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because, Drew, the endpoint that we talked about, that endpoint, we can have several tags. And some of the tags, if the users are not comply with in that 60-second check, then yes, IT team can enforce and terminate that connection. But what's also interesting is oftentimes the ZTNA discussion is always about you need to do that in vendor's cloud, right? So you have to send it to our SSC. We also started doing that in on-prem. So if our customers are using firewall or SD-WAN, we can also do the same zero trust application gateway functionality right there. So having that flexibility has been very important. And then certainly we can terminate connection if they are not following those tags.
So is this a use case where I've got, say, like a traditional client server app in my data center and I've got a firewall complex in front of that, as opposed to shunting traffic back out to a cloud for inspection and then back around again? I can just go through the firewall complex and get that same zero trust and continuous assessment?
Exactly. And in fact, at Fortinet, we have deployed for our own employees as well. Certainly, every organization are going to have some private application in that campus or in some of the data center. So this gives them flexibility on where is the application and which technology is deployed there, rather than always sending the traffic to the cloud and then do that application gateway and enforcement check. So yeah, we do give that flexibility, and we call it kind of a universal ZTNA, because now it allows you to universally do that enforcement where your users and applications are.
Okay, so we've got universal unified SASE.
Yeah, making it easy, aren't we?
U squared SASE.
No, Unified SASE is definitely an offering name, and the ZTNA is one of the capability, one of the feature, which is universally applied where customers want.
So this ability to do local inspection brings up this notion of sovereign SASE. Can you talk about what sovereign SASE means?
Yeah. So as we talked about our FortiSASE offering, over the last several years, as our focus has been building the most global cloud network, right? And we now have over 150 point of presence. So customers can use where the users are. Now, we have seen two types of users, right? There are certain countries where they prefer that the POP is following the local regulation, the data resides in that specific country. So we do support that for several countries, and that is one of the use case customers have adopted. But then we have seen this second requirement where there are large financial customers or service providers. They even prefer to have their own data center, where those data centers they want to use as a POP for a security processing. So Drew, we are now rolling out sovereign SASE, where we can facilitate customers to build that infrastructure with a lot of automation that we provide.
So you're saying I'm essentially running SASE capabilities, but inside my own private data center, as opposed to having to shunt traffic into a public cloud instance?
Exactly. So you can have those data centers, which are your customer's data center. They are running for example, let's say the FortiGate nodes, which does the security processing, but it is owned by you. The security processing and logs remains there. We do provide orchestration. So we provide the flexibility of orchestration and graphical user interfaces from our locations, but everything about data plane and logs remains with customers.
But I can also control, if I'm not doing that, I don't want to bring all that in. I still want to use the Fortinet cloud. I can control where in the world, which POPs are accessible by my endpoints.
Certainly. Yes. And that's where I mentioned, Ethan, we have seen the privacy and data residency requirement varies depending on the user, depending on the customer profile. A lot of customers are happy as long as, that particular Fortinet point of presence is following the local regulation. But there are some extreme requirement for customers where they wanted to own the data center and own the entire data flow and more.
So what are my other consumption options here? Is this, I guess I should put it this way. I've got Fortinet boxes. I tend to think of you guys as like delivering me a box that I put in a rack and I plug it in and it does things. But if I'm consuming SASE services, and a lot of those are cloud-based, should I think of that as a SaaS offering then?
Absolutely. I mean, FortiSASE is really a SaaS offering. We are offering that across all of those 150 POPs, where customers can just connect via agent or an agentless, and we provide an inline inspection via the cloud network. It comes with its own SaaS management, so FortiSASE management, which can manage all those 15 SSE capabilities through a one console. And there are a lot of flexibility of how you connect to FortiSASE. Yeah, one I talked about is agent, which is FortiClient Unified Agent. Agentless, you can use SD-WAN. You can use access point, which is very unique for a micro branches. Our access points also integrates with that.
But the fact that it's being delivered as SaaS means I get things like I don't have to worry about the hardware. I don't have to worry about power. I don't have to worry about scaling. That's handled for me because this is essentially software as a service.
Yes. So as you exactly the way you described, we take care of all the software upgrades, maintenance updates, what typical SaaS service do. But Drew, what's exciting is this is on our rapid monthly release. So we are rolling out new innovations as we go. For example, we just rolled out more innovations into remote browser isolation and ZTNA, secure private access. So we do those and customers take advantage of those monthly new innovations.
Okay, right. That's the other part of SaaS is that the application stack tends to get upgraded more quickly as well.
Correct.
So Nirav, last question then. We've been talking about SASE. We've been talking about it as a SaaS service, but there is also an endpoint piece, a client piece. This is more than just a VPN client or a firewall client, yeah?
Yes. So FortiClient, which is our software agent we are developing since last 15 years, can do a lot more, right? And not only it can provide the connectivity for VPN, Zero Trust, SASE, and digital experience monitoring, but it can also do an endpoint protection. It can also integrate with our NAC products and all. In fact, Drew, in few days, you will see that we will be talking about EDR integration as part of the same agent. So now you have EDR available with all the other functionality I talked about to provide that true unified agent.
All right. Well, if folks want to find out more about the Unified SASE offering or anything else from Fortinet, Nirav, where do you recommend they go?
Yeah, go to our website, fortinet.com. On the homepage, you will find a lot of information about the SASE and the summit.
And you guys are holding a SASE summit coming up, right?
Yeah, that is something I'm really excited about because a lot of things we talked about today, the SASE summit, we are going to do live demonstration about Unified Agent and the FortiSASE, and we'll talk about sovereign SASE in depth as well. So yes, look forward to that.
All right. So if you want to get that information, go to Fortinet.com and just find the links for the SASE Summit. It's happening October 10th. You can register for that or also get a replay. Nirav, thank you for being here, and we appreciate Fortinet being a sponsor. And as always, thank you for listening. You can find this and many more fine, free technical podcasts along with our community blog. It's all at packetpushers.net. You can find us on LinkedIn. You can hear us on Spotify. And if you would, leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. And last but not least, remember that too much networking would never be enough.